Okay, so picture this. It's 2 a.m. and my girlfriend and I are lying awake on the cold tile floor of a vacant airport. A few hours ago, my rental car was robbed, the window was shattered, and the GPS stolen. And because I'm cheap and opted to not get the theft insurance, Avis informed me that I owed them $1,000. I should be angry and worried, but I'm the happiest I've been in recent memory. Because earlier today, I returned the mysterious lost film that I found in the New York blizzard to the owners in Paris. 2 weeks ago, I'd all but given up on finding the owner of the lost photos. I was searching for almost 2 months, and it seemed like I was no further along than when I first started. Then I got an email that changed everything. The subject, author of film. And then as proof, they sent other photos taken on that same day. And when I saw those pictures, I got chills. So my girlfriend Juliana and I, we booked our flights and spontaneously headed to Europe for the first time in our lives. And we didn't know anyone there. So I took a chance and reached out to a few of the 800 nice strangers who had emailed me and offered me help in my search for the owners. Soon we were on this 5-country road trip of Europe, and I didn't know how to work the manual car that I had rented. I stayed with Charlotte and Gilles in Liège, Belgium, and we went out with their friends and explored the city, eating frites, discussing socialism, Werner Herzog, and the grave seriousness of which Belgian beer you drink out of which glass. The next day I drove to Pritschenstadt, Germany to stay with Allison and Mark and their family. Their 9-year-old son gave us this great tour of their tiny historic city, and her husband Mark got me more drunk than I'd ever been in my life, trust me. Never, ever try and keep up with the alcohol consumption of a large German man. Fede and Simone met us in Torino, Italy, which is somehow both called the Paris of Italy and the Detroit of Italy. Fede showed me the architecture of her favorite buildings, and most importantly, we formed a common bond over our love of Seinfeld. When it was time to go, she had baked us a cake for the road. It was amazing. I've always been shy, but these people showed me that it's easy to be nice. They introduced me to their families and friends. They opened their homes to me, a complete stranger. And at one point, Juliana and I stopped in Switzerland, and we didn't have anyone to meet. I spent a few hours snowboarding in the Alps, which was amazing, but it was also just kind of lonely. And then at the end of the week, we finally set out what we came there to do. We were going to meet the owner of the film, and I was beyond nervous. I had always pictured myself meeting these rugged European adventurers. Instead, I met this tiny, cute French girl named Camille. Turns out the real photographer was never the two men in the pictures at all. It was their sister, a quiet young student who was visiting the States, which is the European word for America. Camille's ex-roommate in New York recognized that several of the shots were taken right outside their apartment, so she sent Camille my video. I had the silly expectation that as soon as I met the owner of the film, we'd go on some crazy adventure. But instead, we sat and drank tea and awkwardly talked. You see, everybody else that I'd met on this trip chose to be part of this. But Camille didn't have a choice. I threw her into this situation and posted photos of her family that ended up all over the internet. We slowly got to know each other, and then eventually we started to laugh and share stories and become friends. She told me that her family had started to call me the boy Amélie. We joked that if Hollywood made a movie of this, Camille and I would end up married. And it might be a language barrier or the fact that I nervously drank my beer way too fast, but I couldn't quite articulate to Camille how picking up that film changed me. I just kept on saying, "Thank you for losing the film." I must have seemed insane to her. The next day I got to meet Camille again, and this time she brought along her brother Fabian. This is the guy I've been looking for the past 2 months, and I probably wouldn't have recognized him if Camille hadn't introduced us. He showed me his pictures from that day. This is the other half of that photo, where Camille's older brother is throwing the snowball while Fabian and Camille are taking dueling photos. At each stop on my trip, I took my own black and white photos with an old film camera that I dug up. Pictures of the people that I met, or various landmarks, or I had people take pictures of me. In Paris, Camille, Fabian, Juliana, and I took the final photos on the roll, and together we wrote this cryptic note that I wrapped around the film canister. And then I picked a spot, and I left the film roll for some other stranger to find. It happened once, it can happen again. If you find me, I'll buy you coffee, and we'll become friends. It's the beginning of an adventure.